Hey Marvel Strike Force, we just had the Overpower announcement, and I kind of wanted to talk about certain teams, how they perform, what the Overpower system's going to do, how it's going to look. And I think we have to change how we view new teams, because I don't think we can view teams as a team anymore because of the Overpower system. Um, I think it's that bad. I think we now have to view the game in the sense of power characters. It's not going to be teams. And when I say power characters, I'm going to give you an example. Um, a perfect example of a power character right now is Endgame Thanos. This character, when he takes damage, attacks all enemies for 400% piercing and 30% drain, with 70% extra damage from overpower. That feels really great. And why I say it's 70%, if you're fighting up overpower tier right now, it's 50% from overpower, and it's about 20-25% for a gear tier, or if you're 5 levels down. So that's where I come up with like 70-75%, and we saw how strong that was in the current season, and it changes who is acceptable for the system, who we can bring. It really skews what kind of characters are good and what kind of characters don't meet the cut anymore. Um, the Vigilante team does not have a character that I think meets the cut. Their fastest character and characters I think meet the cut fast and controlling. Those are out of turn damage. Those are the type of characters that I think now are what we were looking for in a character that's worth investing in outside of the tippy top. Outside of like the over. When I say there are still characters that we are going to care a lot about, that's like the Odin, the Mephisto, the Super Scroll, Apocalypse, Null. Those characters are exceptions. They are the best of the best. But when you start talking about normal teams and looking at normal teams, when you start looking at Vigilante, there's nothing that they do. They don't have controlling effects. They don't have slows. They don't have speed bar. They don't. If they have to punch up, they aren't going to be able to do it. And that's how we have to view characters now. Can they punch up? Are they fair or are they broken? Are they overpowered? And this team is not overpowered. We and tank characters, their value went down substantially. If a tank character is not the highest tier in the game, they are taking 70% increased damage. If a healer is not max level, they're taking 70% increased damage. And I'll give you a hint, but when a tank character's health reaches zero, they no longer can tank. When a healer character's health reaches zero, they no longer can heal. So these sustain type characters, we don't care about them anymore. They don't matter. Um, that also comes back to if a character can't live to do their damage, we also don't care about them because they don't matter. If you can't live to do your damage, then we don't care what you do. And there's a lot of characters that meet those criteria that now no longer fit the mold. Silver Sable doesn't do anything. There are teams that are exceptions and do have fit a criteria and probably will work. Starjammers, they've got two speed bar mechanics. They've got a turn one stun and a turn two ability block. This team probably is okay enough that it was worth building, but if they make it past that point and they have to go into a pre-taunt, then they have to play with these two other bozos that don't do anything. We have a Groot that doesn't do any damage, and he doesn't control anything, and he's super slow. We have a Rocket that doesn't do any damage, and he doesn't control anything, and he's super slow. So if we make it into that territory, this team falls apart and feels terrible. So what I'm kind of thinking is how you approach this now is we don't give a crap about these characters. They're useless anyways. We build up the power characters. The Lilandra, the Havoc. Those are the characters we care about. The rest of these we don't care. And we may not even use them on their teams anymore. That might be the approach we are moving into. Same thing with Liberty. Um, Liberty don't get me wrong, Liberty is an amazing team, but same thing. Like the value of like War Machine falls off substantially if he has to punch up, because War Machine has to live to get to be able to punch up. we go in with the first turn Joaquin, he can rewind. Peggy Carter can stun, trauma, slow. Then we can get to the damage dealers, which is War Machine and Patriot. We fill speed bar with Sam, we get speed up. This team still probably laps people, which is why it's so good. But you start looking at teams like Mighty Avengers. This team is just dead on. It was dead on arrival from the get-go. It's really dead on arrival now. 126 first character, like this character doesn't do enough to be able to punch up because it now has to take 70% increased damage before it gets to do stuff. I don't remember the speed of Invisible Woman. She's like super slow, and that's a stun. It's 124. If this team can't rewind with Vision, which is still really slow, by the way, Vision's 125. Like, if Vision can't turn one, reduce their speed bar, this team probably can't play. And then the question becomes, do you invest on any of these characters anymore? And I kind of think the answer is no. Now, a perfect example in the Overpower world is this team. This team does it all. We have Storm, who comes in and stun traumas with slow. Then we come in with Jean Grey and rewind everybody. And we come in AoE twice, rewind some more people. And then we come in and Storm ult and delete everybody. We make them stop existing. And they probably never let the team take a turn. And those are the types of teams and types of characters that we have to go and use in the new Overpower world. And if they don't meet that criteria, you probably don't spend resources on them. That's the state of the game we are moving into. And I really want to make that very clear. Same thing with this team. Miss Marvel Classic gets substantially worse if she is not the max gear tier. Wasp and Ironheart probably just dead on arrival. Probably would have never invested in them if Overpower existed at that time. Kahori is like the exception. And she probably is an offense character because you want her G20, you want to be able to take her into the right matchups, you don't want people to counter her. It just is what it is. Defense becomes substantially worse. If it's not a G20 defense, you probably are getting run over by something very cheap and efficient because they just take in something fast. So speed is everything. Speed is so much now. A team like Astral, fastest character is 127 with an ability block that already gets outsped by like the entire game. If there's one G20 character, this team probably falls over. So we have to think about things like Strange probably never get a turn. Like Moondragon probably never gets a turn. Ancient One probably dies in 3 hits. Like, this team probably can't exist on defense now. We probably take Shadow King to the moon because him and Corey and things like that are still really good because he has out-of-turn pings. Out-of-turn pings are really amazing. So, like Shadow King hitting you for extra 70% damage whenever you hit an ult, that's a really scary offense character now. We look at like things like Night Stalker, still a really good team, but Blade and Oath are the two that stick out to me. Moon Knight's probably too slow to feel good. Agatha's almost probably too slow to feel good because they can no longer take the hits to get to their turn. And that's kind of how we have to look at tanks. Gladiator taking an extra 70% damage all of a sudden feels like he's probably like G18. He probably feels 2 tiers lower than what he is now. He's probably level 95 G18 when you take an extra 70% damage. Teams like Illuminati and older, they're going to die to the first real AoE ult that happens, and they're just not going to exist. Because, I don't know if you saw some of those Cosmic Crucible matches, when Mephisto has 100% increased damage, when Mephisto ults, the entire team just has the 100% gray bar. That's what we're going to feel like, because Mephisto is going to be one of the first characters that people take to the max level. Characters that are this old are just going to feel dead. And this is a maxed out Illuminati. Characters older than this. Old Man Logan, let's talk about his diamonds. If his diamonds still don't exist yet, he's currently got 5 million HP or 7 million HP. If he takes 70% more damage, like, he's gonna feel like he has 3 million HP. That's how he's gonna feel. And I don't know about you, but 3 million HP characters don't feel good. They feel very unplayable. When you start looking at stuff like that. Cabal probably is fine because they're on offense, but defense becomes very, very, very weak at that point. So that's kind of the things you have to think about. Like Venom, I don't even use Venom, but you get the idea. And it's not like I'm running gear tiers down, I'm running purple ISO down, but that's not what's going to be happening. what's going to happen is people are going to put G20 on the very, very tippy top of the roster, and that's where we start to feel bad. That's where the system feels like it's broken and gross. So, key takeaways from this: fast characters, rewind characters, characters with stuns and ability blocks, characters that do fast, quick turn damage, do out of turn damage like in-game Thanos or pings. Characters, those are the types of characters we're going to want to invest in. We're not going to want to invest in tanks. We're not going to want to invest in healers. We're not going to want to invest in slow damage dealers. And we are going to want to stop looking at teams as full teams, because they aren't full teams anymore. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have one really powerful character and 4 bozos. And teams that have 5-man trait requirements are going to feel dead on arrival, because if you can't activate the good character's abilities, then it doesn't matter what you have. So I want you guys to think about that. I think that this is going to make the game really terrible, and it really kind of kills the whole team building aspect, and it just becomes a paywall. I hope you guys like this. If you do, come thumbs up the video, come like and subscribe. Let me know what you think.